Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the January meeting of the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force. I'm Mary Neubauer, one of the co-chairs, and I represent the task force on the Milwaukee Mental Health Board. And I'd also like to turn it over to the other co-chair.
Hi, everybody. I think I'll just be speaking. I'll be heard and not seen today. Maybe I can start my video. I can't be on screen for whatever reason, but that's fine. I'm going to go. My name is Christine Apple, the other co-chair. I'm also representing the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, and I will be going over the ground rules today. We're all on Zoom today. Happy New Year. And thank you to everybody for joining our meeting. I know the snowstorm has changed a lot of plans for everybody today, so it's good to see you. Please share any questions or tech issues you have in the chat. We will monitor the chat and do our best to be responsive. Please remain muted to minimize background noise for others. Auto captioning is provided. You may turn captioning on or off. Click on the caret symbol next to the CC Live transcript button if you want to hide subtitles or to view the full transcript. At the top of your video screen, you can choose between speaker view or gallery view, whichever you prefer. To all participants today, we hope to have a time after each speaker for a few questions. Use the chat feature to type your questions, and sign language interpreters are provided at this meeting. If you need assistance accessing the interpreter, please put your request in the chat. And speakers and people asking questions, please say your name before you speak to help with accessibility. Thank you.
Okay, and if we have any members of the Mental Health Task Force Steering Committee, could you please speak up and introduce yourself and who you represent? Just speak up.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Damiano. I work for Independence First, and I am also part of the Mental Health Task Force Steering Committee. I am here to represent folks with mental health diagnoses and concerns, and I am a peer representative on the steering committee.
Okay, I see some other members. Just speak up.
This is Pete Knesny, not with any organization at present. Well, I'm a retired attorney, and I also do work with MICA's criminal justice committee that does some overlap with what we do with Mental Health Task Force.
Hi, I'm Kyra Trost, and I work at Wisconsin Community Services.
Hello, I'm Christine Alstrup. I work at Maida House, and I've been a member of the steering committee for about a year.
Okay, do I see anybody else out there? Okay, thank you everybody for introducing yourselves. I can't see if there's anybody off on the next screen, so we'll leave it at that. And I trust everybody that has been introduced is everybody that's here. All right, we'll get on with our first speakers. I have the pleasure of introducing Brenda Wesley and Terri Ellzey from Staying on Track Incorporated. Brenda Wesley is a trained mental health educator and facilitator, and formerly the Outreach and Education Director at NAMI Milwaukee. Also the writer, director, and producer of Pieces in My Own Voice. And Terri Ellzey is a licensed clinical counselor and substance abuse counselor and substance abuse counselor. Both Brenda and Terri will give an overview of Staying on Track, program dedicated to improving our community by empowering teens and adults to realize their full potential and to uplift themselves out of the darkness of poverty. Staying on Track Incorporated aims to educate and create public awareness regarding mental illness, wellness, and health. Welcome, Brenda and Terri.
Hey, thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. And thanks a lot, guys, for inviting us. I know a lot of people that attend the steering committee and on the task force as well. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know me. First of all, before I give an overview of Staying on Track, I want to acknowledge the loss of Peter Hoffel, who was the prior executive director of NAMI Greater Milwaukee. He passed away a few weeks ago. And before I give you an overview of staying on track, it's kind of surreal that all of Peter's career, he was an advocate, and he was did the work in the community around mental illness and mental health. So Peter and I, we worked side by side. But the thing that's kind of ironic is that after Peter left NAMI Greater Milwaukee, unfortunately, he had to get state insurance, and Peter was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And because of Title 19, and I guess I'm saying this because that's why advocacy is so important, that Peter, because there was an issue with his Title 19 insurance and his doctors, his treatment was stopped for over 7 weeks. And with the treatment being stopped for over 7 weeks, the cancer came just kind of roaring back. And we lost Peter after that. So it's just amazing that all of his work and the groundwork that he did for him to lose his life to cancer, because of still there are holes in our system around mental health and Title 19 insurance and people being on disability. So, but I have to acknowledge Peter's life, and working with him all these years. I'm gonna miss him a lot. So I just want to acknowledge him. And we'll be doing something special for Peter, most likely this year, so we can have a memorial and dedicate just the work that Peter did with NAMI Greater Milwaukee. So with that being said, I was the Director of Education and Outreach for many years with NAMI Greater Milwaukee, and I established a program called ASK, Access, Support, and Knowledge, which is a mental health outreach that I actually went out into the community and trained the community around mental illness and mental health, because that African-American lens was not being addressed. No one was talking to family members. So we had a big hole within our system. And so when I developed the ASK program, and that was developed well before mental health first aid and some of the other educational trainings that people are addressing now. I started at NAMI in 2008. So I've been in the field for over 20 some years. So with that being said, after I left NAMI Greater Milwaukee, there was still a hole in regards to educating communities of color and family members in regards to mental health and mental illness. And with staying on track, our second line is whatever it takes to heal our community. And so I decided after I left I co-founded Staying on Track with my nephew, which is a nonprofit organization, 501c3. So I could develop more programming that targets our community. And I have to say, it was a beautiful thing because the Kubley Foundation funded me to resurrect the ASK program and all of the community work that I did in the past. So I'm really excited with working with the Kubley Foundation and them having the faith in me to fund Staying on Track as well. So with that being said, again, Staying on Track, our primary focus is to do workshops in the community around mental health and addiction as well, to go out into our community. But another segment of ASK as well is that a lot of professionals, when I was doing the presentations, I could come in with the lens to train organizations around mental health and to understand the community overall and to be understanding, because this is an anti-stigma program that we offer. So not only do we have that lens to train professionals and care managers and organizations, we have that other lens that we can engage with the community, because this program was developed by us. I say by us and for us, and it's delivered by us as well. So in order for us to have that lens, so if we could just pull up the one of the slides, that would be great. So with that being said, Staying on Track and it is part of the one of our programs of staying on track is ASK, and that's Access, Support, and Knowledge. And of course, it's a mental illness anti-stigma outreach program. And I am so excited in regards to it, but everyone knows that my lens as far as advocacy is concerned was the diagnosis of my son, Omar, with the severe and chronic mental health disorder. So if we could move to that slide, that would be great. And so like I said, a lot of people on this on the screen probably know me and all the advocacy work that I've done in regards to my son as well. But I also do advocacy work in regards to addiction because I did lose a sister to fentanyl overdose. I just recently lost a niece to fentanyl overdose. So we address addiction. So everything that we do with the ASK program and with staying on track is that we do it for the community in order to have better treatment and understanding around our community. And so with the development of that is that I have two consultants, but one that I have to really shout out to, Mary has been with me forever, but Terri Ellzey, she is one of the consultants that I brought on. And with staying on track, I have to let you guys know this, is that I do have a board of directors. So I am really legit with my nonprofit organization. But Mary is a consultant, but Terri Ellzey, she and we work very hard in order to put multiple presentations together, because what we wanted to do is that we wanted to have a better lens, and we really wanted to drill down on some of the major topics. As we do that, I'm going to have Terri chime in to talk about one of our premier workshops is Why is Our Village Burning? But Terri will also talk about the other workshops that we have developed, community workshops for the community, by the community, but these workshops, they can be utilized by our professionals as well. I also received a grant to revamp, and if we can go to the next slide. So Terri, I'm gonna have you do the ASK presentation, so move to the pieces real quick. That one of the other programs that we have is Pieces in My Own Voice, the theatrical production that addresses mental health using music, dance, and monologues. We are revamping that too, thanks to the Kubley Foundation giving us funding to do that. So Pieces we will be premiering Pieces. That will be in May. And I don't have the exact date right offhand, but you guys will be getting additional information. So what I'm going to do is that I want to talk too much because I think we only have 20 minutes. So I want Terri to chime in regards to the workshops that we have developed and these beautiful slides. Terri created those slides as well. So Terri, I'm going to hand it to you.
And I just want to say you have plenty of time. You have, I think, 35 minutes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right.
Oh, just one moment. This is Nicole speaking. Sally, could you put the slides into the slideshow? So at the very top in the tabs area where it says slideshow, up top,
Right.
slideshow.
Absolutely.
And then from current slide, then folks can see the full screen.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terri Ellzey, and I am a former member of the Mental Health Task Force Steering Committee. So I'm glad to be back, and I enjoy seeing everybody today. So yes, Brenda Wesley reached out to me. I'm currently an independent contractor for myself, and she partnered with me to create a community conversation through psychoeducation. So right now, as we were speaking one day, we were talking about one of our many conversations, that is, we were talking about the ongoing issues with the reckless driving and a lot of the teenagers shooting each other. We were speaking to the post-COVID experience regarding children's mental health and just a form of mental health in general. And so in collaboration, we first developed 8 presentations, as you can see if you go back to the slide beforehand, that list the one before. Yes, yes, that one.
Yes.
So we initially came, Brenda wanted to go back to her roots and do the intro to mental health so that it could be stated in a language for the community, by the community, so that it would be in more of a layman's term of giving people information about mental health and mental health services in the Milwaukee area. And so from there, we talked a little bit more in depth about child development, what that looks like, the impact of the trauma and everything like that, which led to the trauma, which comes next. We also talked about being educated on medication, because a lot of people are prescribed maybe sometimes prescribed psychotropic medications, but may not understand taking them and what can happen if you don't take them or stop taking them abruptly. We also talked about the impact of addiction and substance abuse, as Brenda said, about the fentanyl crisis, where just in general, a lot of people who may not even use opioids may still be a victim of overdosing on fentanyl due to just the way things happen in the community. We also, I know Brenda, from anyone, is a big supporter of anti-stigma language. So a lot of our presentations, you will see anti-stigma infused in each one of them. Then we wanted to also address the problems with mental health in jails, prisons, and the homeless shelters. So and then the last part was the relationship, coping, and self-care. So these are actually birthed out of conversations she and I have had over a period of time. And then through her vision and my creative lens, we both came up with this 8 conversation. But here's the cherry on top. So the cherry on top started with the village is burning. So, most of us here in this space, we hear about the village. But what happens to the children in the village if the village is no longer there?
So can we go back to the first slide, Terri? Yeah,
yes,
I would like
yes.
them to show that.
Rewind.
Yes, to the very first slide. There you go. Yes.
So this was a visual that came out of that burning. And so the way the proverb goes, so that this says, it takes a village to raise a child. The other part of the proverb is, if the children are not embraced by the village, they will burn it down for its warmth. So the crisis that we have started to see, the increase, started a little bit before COVID, but it really ignited after COVID. And so in our presentation called Why is the Village Burning, we implement a series of historical, generational, traumatic events that took place amongst the African American community. Very important dialogue to address the epigenetics and the traumas and the generational things that African Americans gone through to get where we're at now. And so the main point of this is making the connection. So throughout this presentation that we have here, we will be making a connection to show how what started here maybe 200 years ago, not even 200 years ago, has led to where we're at now, based on a culture of individuals who just really never had a chance to get boots and put the straps on. So I'll give this back to Brenda.
Absolutely. And with all of the workshops that, as Terri went over the workshops and the different modules that we have with Why is the Village Burning, it actually introduces all of the topics, because we have to look at the effects of slavery and trauma, but then also too, the lack of mental health. Why is our children, when we look at early childhood development, what does that look like when a child has been traumatized, or when a community has been traumatized over the years, even with medication? So it touches, Why is the Village Burning? It touches every aspect of the modules that we created, or I would say the workshops that we created for the community. And I'm really excited about this one, because I think it's important for us to realize that. And again, when we look at anti-stigma, when we look at stigma and how people are cared for, that we can continue to traumatize a generation of individuals on a regular basis. So again, when I talk about professionals as well, it's good for professionals to hear this, but then again, the community, so there's total understanding. And again, even with us,
And the pieces production, I had always addressed PTSD and trauma, but now just recently we have been talking about trauma, but trauma just didn't happen recently. So we're looking at the effects over the years of traumatic events that can cause depression, anxiety, and all of the things that, again, that is happening in the community. And that's even within the Latino community, that's communities of color, and even within the white community as well. So we really want to address that. We have been doing a series of workshops over this summer to test out, and I would say a testing to test out our presentation. The community is really accepting what we have to say. And even with the pieces production, I want everybody to know that that is evidence-based. The production is evidence-based. I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but we did have a research done on it to see if we were making an impact, not only with professionals, but with the community, in order for people to seek treatment, or really to understand that we have to continue to be that village for people as well. And again, it just came off the back of the work that I've been doing over the last 20 years with my son, Omar, as well. And he will always be in the forefront. But again, just acknowledging the work that Terri has done and what she has done in the past, the board of directors, Mary Neubauer, so we are really excited about 2024 because we just started this last year. So we are building that. We really want the community to understand that we are there, but then also to offer services to the community as well. So when we do these workshops, we do have resources available to the community, but we really want to make sure that when we refer someone, and I think I have to put my NAMI Greater Milwaukee hat on, because I did have good training with NAMI Greater Milwaukee. I had very good training with my training ground as well, but now it's time to take it to the next level. And so we're really excited about just working again with Mary and just taking this out into the community. We're going to be in the Milwaukee library system over this summer, and we will be sending out a flyer with that. We're going to be doing the Why is the Village Burning? We will be doing that presentation for MC3 in July. So we are excited about that as well. And so,
I would like to add something real quick, Brenda.
Ms. Mary.
So two things I would like to add. I'm sorry, Brenda. One is I want to thank Mary Neubauer, because she was the one who brought up, you guys should do that one first. So we did the 8, and we were going to do the 8 in sequence. And then she said, I think you guys should do this one first when she seen it. 2, I will put the dates that we have right now that we know into the chat, so you guys can have a few of the dates. We do have one presentation coming up through another library, but we haven't secured the date yet. So as these meetings go on, we'll keep you updated on that. So I will include the locations and the dates in the chat.
And let your family members know that you're working with, or peers, or whatever. Let them know that we're going to be offering a series of workshops for them, by them, again, so they can really have an understanding of what it's like to, of course, live with a mental health diagnosis, but then with family members to help assist them and help them navigate and to understand not only the system, but to understand a family member that may live with an addiction or may live with a mental health disorder, or maybe just kind of being unwell. And then the last one we have is that, and there's a lot of discussion about self-care. So we do have one where we have to totally, train people and get providers to understand that you have to take care of yourself and your trauma as well, because how can you provide adequate services for people if you're not addressing your own mental health? And that even came out of all of the work that I did when I did CIT training, crisis intervention training with law enforcement officers, that I really came to find out, which I knew already, that they were dealing with their own trauma, but they weren't dealing with it at the same time. So we included that module when we did CIT training as well, to let law enforcement officers know that you may not be well. And so if you're not well, how can you provide treatment to those that are looking for someone to help them? So this is just a quick overview of what we're doing. But again, we're very excited about 2024. Happy New Year. And about pieces, we're going to have a premiere. So hopefully it will be a red carpet event to resurrect, as I say, pieces in my own voice. And with that being said, if anybody has any questions or anything else that you want to share, Terri or Mary.
Sure. I'll share that the next Why is the Village Burning, just so people can have it on the top of their heads, is Saturday, January 27th at the Good Hope Library. Terry's going to put that in the chat, but just so people have an audio of it. January 27th, 1 to 4 p.m. Why is the Village Burning at the Good Hope Library, 1 to 4 p.m. And when Brenda has a flyer complete, we can get that to Sally at the task force, and she can send that out to the listserv. I'm checking the chat here.
Okay.
Okay, we've got some time.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody, if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask a question if you have a question. Anybody?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Nicole from Independence First again. I am just curious, when you bring resources in, do you have specific counselors and therapists that are truly trauma informed? And, you know, I think one of the difficulties that I have is finding therapists that look like the people that I serve, and have maybe some of that shared generational trauma or some of that shared lived experience. So I'm wondering if you have, when you provide resources, if that's some of the resources that you do provide.
So I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been a clinician now. I was in training for a long time, but now I've been a fully licensed clinician now for 2 years. And I've been a clinical substance abuse counselor for probably about 15 years. And I've been a member of the community working in human services for 30 years. So and I'm also part of the Milwaukee Black Therapists group. So when things come up or things come across our way, Brenda would reach out to me, I would reach out to Brenda, or we would reach out to Mary, or whoever our community partners are. Again, you know, both Brenda and I are not strangers to this field. We have both together in collaboration a lot of experience and community activism and knowledge and resources. So myself, just in general, I work everywhere from county, healthcare for the homeless, guest house. So I have a real long history of working as a community intervention specialist. Now I just kind of going into a new direction because I'm more focused on racial trauma. And so that also played a big part in putting that into the fold as not only from a clinical aspect of looking at trauma, but also from a social theoretical aspect of how we got here. And so I have a lot of clinical training in trauma. Probably most of my work has been on trauma. So I hope I answered your question.
And then as we do this work too, Nicole, we know that, you know, there are certain resources that we hand out. So, you know, we want people to understand that you have the crisis resource centers, you have the psychiatric emergency room. But the thing that we do is that we're very honest with our workshops, and that we do tell people that everything is not going to be pie in the sky. We still have a long way to go. And so that's even with the conversation that we have after the workshops, is that's why we want the community to be train and understand. And if you're having an issue that, and we can become very busy, that call me and I'll try to help you navigate, but I have to teach you how to do that yourself. And so the more voices that we have at the table, the change can happen. And I can tell you 20 years ago when I started this, we had a lot of issues. We really did. But I do have to compliment some of the progress that we made, but we still can't let people off the hook. We still have to hold people accountable with treatment of loved ones and community and that. So these are the conversations we have. We do have a network of people that we can call on, but again, to understand that everything's not going to be pie in the sky. We don't try to, just make everybody think that everything is great and the system is running very well. No, we have to do better. We still have to do better with that. And I'll also say this is that, again, everyone knows the reason why I decided to do Staying on Track and to create this and to create pieces. Again, when I look at Omar, and I'll just tell the community as well as we did settle a major lawsuit in regards to the harm that was done with Omar in the past. And once we uncovered and started looking up under stones, we found a lot of racial bias, a lot of other biases. We found a lot of people cooking the books. I mean, a lot of different things. So again, we just have to be open and honest with our community about issues that's happening in the community. But I think that we can do better. And I believe that MC3 has really made it a priority in order to change the landscape of care. But again, so we have to train the community and we have to train clinicians and social workers, again, in regards to, we still have to do better because people are getting sicker because of COVID, right? And so now we're seeing more mental health diagnoses or just people just not being mentally healthy. So what does that mean, right? So this is this long story, but just to answer that question, that we're doing our best.
And I just wanted to mention, with Pieces in My Own Voice, we do have a psychologist that travels with the production, and the psychologist that we have is a very significantly trauma-trained psychologist and teaches in the trauma program at Mount Mary University. So we take the trauma aspect within the organization very seriously.
And we take our work very seriously too, because again, to harm someone is that you may not get a second chance to make things right. So let's just make it right the first time. And so again, it's just like that community education, because the community really has to understand too why they're so damaged as well. And I always say, now you know, now you can do better. Any other thoughts or questions for us?
Can you speak about the foundation briefly?
Yes. Also, too, another component of Staying on Track is a foundation called We Are Your Voice. And this is a component, again, of Staying on Track, and I'm really trying to grow this as well, is that I want to acknowledge those that we have lost to addiction and overdose or still struggling. With the death of my sister and my niece, I was in the community. Both died in the community, both died in the trenches, and I was there. And I know that they struggle. And so I am really just trying to get people to understand that people don't wake up every day and say, I want to be mentally unhealthy. I want to be a junkie. I want to be a crackhead. So, language to me is so very, very important. It's that how we address people. And so the foundation to raise dollars, to give monies to social groups in the community, that there is a club called the 12-Step Club. My sister and my niece belong there. They are great, but they struggle. And it's a social club. And people go there in order to make that connection with like-minded people. And it's their community, but they need things like a pool table, or maybe a dartboard, or maybe a pizza party, or whatever. And it's just to raise dollars, maybe not a whole lot, but to say that we can buy you a pool table. Is that what you need? So the foundation is in behalf of my sister, Betty Kahn, and my niece, Deidre Jones, and also Omar, because he has lost a lot within our system as well, because he lives with an addiction. But to acknowledge those lives and to say that we are there for you, we understand, There are some that we have lost. So we want people to know that they live, and that and those that are still struggling, keep in the struggle to have a quality of life, but again, to build that village around them. So that's the foundation. We are Your Voice Foundation. And you can go to our website. We have a website, stayingontrackinc.org. And you can see all the work that we are trying to put out there. And we have a small staff. It's just Terri, Mary, and myself. That's the staff, but that's how we start. You know, we do things from the kindness of our heart. And so, you know, to try to continue to get funding in order to create this community outreach. Any other questions?
Sue Miller in the chat asked how people could reach both of you directly.
Well, Sue, you can put my telephone. Terri, can you put my telephone number in the chat for me, or somebody can do that for me? You can reach me directly, and then I can reach out to Terri as well if Terri wants to put, or either you can use the website, but I'm old school. Call me on the phone. Because I know we have a lot of emails. We have tons of them. Oh my goodness. Yes, so you can call me because it is on my business card as well. And we've done also too with Pieces in My Own Voice, we established a youth production as well. And we traveled to many, many schools to broach the subject of mental health using music and dance and theater and monologues in order to gauge children to seek services. And the thing that's so amazing with that, when we were out there at the schools, a lot of people said, well, 250 kids in an auditorium is not going to come up and ask any questions. Oh, they did. They did. And the thing that was so amazing is that the boys asked questions, living with trauma, living with depression, anxiety. And so again, it's a multi-layer approach, is that we have to reach the professionals, right, that's doing the work and that's offering services, but we have to talk to the community so they can understand and they can educate themselves. And then we have to talk to the youth so they can understand what's happening to them so they don't normalize depression and mental health and all of that. And so it's a multi-layered approach that we all have to have a discussion about and do workshops and have family members engaged too as well, and have professionals bring in family members and peers, because that is a huge one, and peers, is that's when we really make our work more efficient and get our community to listen. Any other questions for Terri, myself, or Mary? I think I covered everything. And thank you so much, guys, for having us. I really appreciate the platform, and continue the good work. And if you're not doing good work, do better. And then I'll let you know about Peter's memorial service, because I am very heartbroken that we lost him.
Thank you both for being here.
Think we are done?
Thank you very much. Welcome back, both of you.
Thank you. It's been a minute, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christine.
Hi there. I can introduce our third speaker. For whatever reason, I can't be on screen, which is fine. But I just want you to know that I'm trying to be on screen. I just can't. So thank you very much, Brenda and Terri. And wonderful. It is wonderful to see you again. And sorry to hear about Peter. What a shock. I'm here to introduce our third speaker, Cecilia Tenorio from Community Advocates. And I'm hoping that you're here. I can't see in the screen at this point, but she'll be talking. Yeah, there you are. Thank you so much. She'll be here to talk to us about another responsive program. So take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cecilia Tenorio. I'm really happy to be here today. And I just want to extend a thank you again to our previous presenters, Brenda and Terri. It was great to hear more about what you guys are doing in the community. I apologize in advance. I am getting over a cold, so my voice is a little bit weaker than it normally is. I don't have a problem normally being loud, but I am getting over a cold right now. So, but I think I should have the ability to share my screen. And then one second. Okay. If I could just have some thumbs up or some type of confirmation that you folks can hear me.
Looks good. Sounds good.
Great. All right. So today I will be presenting community-based mental health intervention developed by and for the Spanish-speaking Latinx community of Wisconsin. Particularly, we are located, or the campaign of Escucha tus Emociones focuses on the Latinx community in Milwaukee, but also extends as far as Dane County and Madison as well. So a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Cecilia Tenorio, and I am the Mental Health and Wellness Coordinator at Public Policy Institute for Community Advocates. So for those of you who are aware of community advocates, the most popular parts of our departments are most likely our women's shelter, our housing resource center services, but a lot of folks might not be as familiar with our Public Policy Institute, which I am a proud part of, and the Escucha tus Emociones program, which I'm about to share a little bit today with you all, falls within that part of community advocates. So, like many of the mental health initiatives, the origin story behind Escucha tus Emociones was a product of the COVID pandemic. So COVID, as many of us knew, exacerbated the need for mental health resources in the Latino community. So one thing that basically, it was a group of Latina women who work in behavioral health and nonprofit leadership. They were getting together, I think it was a lunch actually, and just kind of being in community with one another, supporting one another, what were they struggling with, what were the needs that they were seeing. And I think it was a unanimous kind of feeling of, we don't have enough resources in Spanish to support our community. A lot of the times, the mental health resources that are available to us were translated from English into Spanish, oftentimes as an afterthought in efforts to be more, to increase diversity and access, but a lot of times that doesn't quite cut the need and fill the need that our community has. So Escucha tus Emociones was a project that began in 2021, and then initially it started as a mental health campaign. Over time, Escucha tus Emociones has transformed into a facilitator train the trainer program, and it has followed a community health promoter model. So the campaign objectives of Escucha tus Emociones were the following, and here I have pictures of Ana Paula Suarez and Evelyn Cruz. So these were the two main, the ladies that helped spearhead this project. Both of them have many years of working in the Latino health community, in nonprofit leadership. And our campaign objectives to begin with were the following: increasing awareness regarding the mental health crisis facing the Latino community, increasing access to culturally and linguistically appropriate psychoeducational digital material. Because of COVID, when we're not able to leave our homes, we needed something that was readily accessible that we could provide with links, whether it be videos, documents, and virtual trainings. Another part of the campaign was to decrease stigma. Like Brenda and Terri had mentioned in their previous conversation, conversation around mental health, especially in Black and Brown communities, a huge part of the initial conversation is being very intentional about decreasing the stigma. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to make you feel less than, and really level the playing field, that this is something, mental health issues affects all of us. And then lastly, we wanted to provide mental and emotional support through virtual group sessions. So that was our initial goal. So the product of the Escucha Tus Emociones campaign, what became more than we could have even imagined. Thanks to our sponsors, we had fiscal sponsors that allowed us to develop what initially was only supposed to be like 4 videos, became a lot more robust mental health campaign. And these are our the campaign team. So Ana Paula Suarez, she is our clinical director and coordinator of Escucha Tus Emociones. Almost all the content that is produced from Escucha Tus Emociones has passed through Ana Paula. She is a licensed psychotherapist. She is trilingual. She speaks English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And she is probably one of the most passionate people I've ever met in terms of having safe space conversations involving mental health. Then we also have Maria Salcido de Guerra. She's a mental health provider that helped collaborate in the creation of the campaign video content. We had Ángeles Rodriguez Soria. She is a community health promoter. She works through Planned Parenthood and the Mexican Consulate, giving resources regarding health and sexual reproductive health resources to the Latino and Spanish-speaking community in Milwaukee. We had Sandra Dempsey, who is the owner of Source 10 Production Company. She's the creative director and producer behind all of the visuals, the video content. And then finally, Evelyn Cruz, she is the director of the Centro Hispano of Dane County. Like I said, it was a conversation and an idea that came forth of a collective of women, and Evelyn Cruz worked hard with Ana Paula to get this initial grant and the funding to get the campaign off the ground. So we also relied on community partners to help promote our campaign once it was created. Here on the left is a list of all the community organizations that helped promote. Once our campaign was complete, they either shared on their website, they handed out flyers in their lobbies. And so this was one way that we were able to spread the word about our existence and the resources that we're able to provide to the community at no cost. So here is just a few of our accomplishments from the Escucha Tus Emociones campaign. We developed 4 psychoeducational videos, and these are in Spanish. And like I said, this is a project that was intentional from start to finish to create resources for our community by our community. And this is something that when I watched these videos for the first time, I noticed, we didn't have voiceovers or dubbing. The actresses or the people in the videos themselves look like me, talk like me. So representation at every level was well thought out and intentionally created in these 4 videos. Sorry. We also were able to combine the 4 videos of 4 different mental health topics into a 30-minute television show. I wanted to just show like a snippet of it if the video will allow. Should be able to.
Just one moment, this is Nicole. We're not hearing the audio, so you haven't shared your audio. The other thing is, can you please turn on the closed captions as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, that's okay. It's in Spanish anyway, so I figured most of the people in today's meeting, but I just wanted to show kind of just a visual example of these high quality videos that, like we said, were super intentional and supports a Latina video producer here in Milwaukee as well. We also, because we were able to create that 30-minute television show, we were able to secure 2 television spots through the PBS channel in Telemundo. And so that was another way we were able to disseminate these resources and get people involved. We also were able to create a website where we house all of our materials, our 4 videos, interviews that were done for the radio, podcasts, and any type of questions we are able to receive through our website, which is escuchatusemociones.com. And lastly, we were able to get funding for some billboard and printable advertising. So we were able to hand out these cards to our community partners so that they could give it to the community. And then also we were able to secure some funding for billboards. So this was a great way that we were able to, within a short amount of time when a lot of people were in lockdown, able to advertise the existence of this resource. So over time, as I said, Escucha tus emociones transformed. People were getting really excited about the need of this, but then also the fact that this was something that we were able to, through state funding and private sponsorships, to provide these resources for free to the community. And we developed this, these 4 pillars became a part of Escucha tus emociones. So the first one was the resources developed by and for the community, but then we started asking ourselves how we can take this the next step forward and making sure that we have this ripple effect and not losing any of the momentum that was generated by COVID into future years. Because as we all know, COVID might have underlined the issues, but these are traumas that have transcended generations. And a lot of the times we haven't had the resources to talk about them. So that's when Ana Paula, our clinical director, came up with the community capacity building and leadership model, which involved a training and mentorship of health promoters and community leaders around the mental health and emotional health topics. So we were able to secure funding from community advocates at that point, who was looking at that time to create a culturally appropriate and responsive mental health first aid type of training for the Latino community. So two things kind of needs matched up at with some great timing. And so we were able to transform Escucha tus Emociones beyond a health campaign into a train the trainer program. So in 2022 into 2023, we held our training program. The Escucha team received fiscal sponsorship from Community Advocates Public Policy Institute and some finances from Milwaukee County Department of Health and Human Services, Behavioral Health Services. And our first cohort of 49 leaders were trained by our clinical director, Ana Paula Suarez. This includes 16 hours of classroom, in-person and virtual, 4 hours of practicum where they would have to host a community talk, and included mentors for each of the facilitators in training. So something really neat about this program is that I actually was initially a part of Escucha tus Emociones because I signed up to be a facilitator. So I had the firsthand experience and the blessing to be a part of this cohort. I experienced our 6 class sessions plus an all-day retreat. And then the mentorship model where I was able to reach out for any support and help during that time. The training topics for the facilitators before we're actually, not only are we teaching them 4 specific topics to give community health talks in the community, but we wanted to make sure that we were giving our facilitators a robust background knowledge on the following topics. So we included things like introduction to mental health, emotional intelligence, and the physiology of stress and trauma, the effects of immigration on mental health and emotional health, which was super important within our communities because there was not a single facilitator in the room who was not directly impacted by immigration, either first generation or second generation immigrants themselves. And one thing that we have seen time and time again is that immigration is not viewed as a factor in mental illness the way that it should be in the medical profession. So this was super important and validating, not only as, you know, for me, I was born in the US, but so much of my family's generational trauma is a cause of immigration and the toll that it takes on our mental and emotional health. And so this was something that I can just speak personally was extremely validating and healing just to be a part of and hearing this in a classroom setting. We then, we had parts of our training that included recognizing our roots and traditional healing and ancestral healing practices, natural healing in Chinese medicine and mental health, practical tools for emotional health and stress reduction, healthy communication, adolescence and mental health, and group facilitation and how to work with campaign material. That last component of the training was particularly useful because the idea, again, was that we were going to be trained so that we could then provide these mental health talks at no cost to the community. But we wanted to be as informed and prepared as possible. So our cohort graduated on April 14th of 2023. These are some pictures of our little celebration. And I just want to underline how special and beautiful this moment was because a lot of the folks that were part of our facilitator training, like I said, have come from other countries. They're first generation immigrants. Some people have not been able to use their titles that they received in their own countries, or this might have been the first time they ever had a graduation ceremony. So this was such a beautiful experience to share with my fellow facilitators, and it just really generated a lot of excitement and purpose that kind of kept the momentum going in the community. So here's a picture of all of our beautiful facilitators. So each one of these facilitators, as I said, have been trained in 4 mental health topics to give to the community. We are not substituting our services in place of therapy or professional mental health resources. This is often a conduit, a place to start. These are conversations that are held in people's homes, in community organizations, in church basements. And a lot of times this is the place we need to start. We need to meet our people where they are, and navigating this process from a very ground level where people trust us because they know us, we're in the community, has been very, very helpful. We also, like I mentioned before, have the mentor model. So in addition to our clinical director, who is amazing and always willing to be there in case any of the facilitators have questions or any challenges, or we have 2 mentors, Patricia and Angeles, who work and are very experienced as community health promoters in the Latino community. So Angeles on the top has worked as a community health promoter for Planned Parenthood and Coral Centro, and Patricia Loebano works as a community health leader trainer for 16th Street Clinic. So these are all organizations that are very well established within the Latino community, and these women often act as, you know, not only a mentor, but they are a form of our elders and someone that we can go to in any point of our training or in our work in the community if we need an extra bit of support. So the 4 mental health talks, we call them pláticas in Spanish, are the following. We have healthy communication within the family, how to control negative thoughts, how to improve relationships with our children, and 4 practical steps to calm our emotions. Community advocates help create these bilingual brochures, which correspond to 4 of the campaign videos within each of the 4 topics. Each plática ranges to be about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours long. And like I said, there is no cost for participants. Actually, we get funding thanks to community advocates as well. Each facilitator that hosts one of these pláticas are able to get some money for snacks, so we can provide some refreshments to the participants. And then the facilitators do also get paid for that labor as well. So this is all thanks to our amazing partnership that we have through community advocates. So I just wanted to share a little bit about our impact in 2023, and these are including our community mental health talks or pláticas, tabling events, which we are able to attend to give free resources to the public, and also our community advocates official partnership. So here's just some pictures of our facilitators out in the community and what some of these pláticas look like. Sorry, I went backwards for a minute. And then in addition to the pláticas themselves, We also do tabling and resource handouts. This one, for example, was at Bike Day that was hosted by 16th Street Clinic. And some examples of events that we will table at include health fairs, school events, and, for example, at the Mexican consulate. So how many people were reached? It's hard to keep track, but on average, and this is something that, this was just the beginning, the first wave of Escucha tus Emociones after our graduation and our formation of our cohort. But as a part of their practicum, 28 community talks were held, which reached 221 participants. And then again, a second wave from August to December, 20 community talks were held, 200 participants. We had 9 informational tabling events in which we reached 730 persons. So in total, 1,151 individuals were reached, and this is just the beginning of Escucha tus Emociones. So in the past, community advocates had been our fiscal sponsor. They were the folks who allowed us to develop the training content, and they provided a lot of the materials. We have formalized that partnership, and now, thanks to community advocates, there is a formal coordinator position for Escucha tus Emociones to allow for more support, administrative support, and just logistical and continued education for the current facilitator group of the 2022-23 cohort. So I am very pleased that even my current job, so my job as the mental health and wellness coordinator, a huge part of my responsibilities is being the coordinator for this program. And that wouldn't be possible without community advocate support. For 2024, our goals are to continue to develop education around topics such as substance abuse, suicide, and ADHD and autism in our communities. These are themes that have come up in questions during the pláticas in which community members are asking and interested. And so we're in the process of looking for continued education, professional development opportunities for those facilitators so we can meet more of those needs. And fundraising this year for the possibility of a 2025 training and have another cohort so we can continue this ripple effect. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm opening it up for questions.
Cecilia, I've got a question. So as the coordinator, have you attended any of the mental health task force meetings?
This is my first one.
So would you like to come back to the mental health task force?
Yes.
Good. It would be a pleasure to have you come to the task force.
Yes.
Because we meet the second Tuesday of every month from 3 to 5 p.m. and we meet virtually or in person at Independence First at, 540 South First Street. So, and it would be a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd be very happy to attend.
Actually, hi, this is Brenda. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I am so excited about this initiative. It is so needed. It is something that has been talked about for such a long time, and for you to bridge that gap that we've been having a discussion about again for a very long time. So great work, and just keep it up. And if at some point that we can work together, I would love to.
I would love that, Brenda. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I know that Ana Paula would have liked to attend, our clinical director. She's currently in Brazil with her daughter, so she wasn't able to join us today, but this has been such a beautiful passion project that has really felt from start to finish community-based. And as someone, you know, when I first started, I didn't expect, if you would have asked me a year ago, that my professional career would have lined up with Escucha tus Emociones. I ended up just taking that training because they offered it to the community, whether you wanted to be a trainer or you just wanted to learn these resources and help yourself, really. And so this was something that I signed up for. I was really struggling mental health wise. And Ana Paula had personally been someone I had seen for therapy. She's a healer, and I've known her in the community as a healer. So I was like, why not? And I ended up taking the training, and I think I've kind of been this example of like how the impact can keep going with these types of initiatives. You never really know. So super grateful to be here and to meet all of you and share a little bit more about Escucha tus Emociones, and hopefully in the future have more updates to share.
All right,
Thank you,
mine
Cecilia. We have a couple questions in the chat. I'm sorry. Is that Christine?
Great minds think alike. Yeah, there's 2 questions so far. One from Barbara Beckert. How can the Mental Health Task Force help to promote the work you are doing and to spread the word?
That's a great question. Thank you. We are in the process. So in January, we are making a few changes to the structure just because now that we do have an official partnership with community advocates, now that there's a coordinator position, and we're able to kind of iron out some of the logistical and administrative processes that had been in the past. We are going to be reinitiating our community talks held by facilitators starting in February. So I can get in touch with you folks with updated flyers so that the community can get in contact with the facilitator. We are also looking into me possibly having some of those talks, because I'm also a facilitator. I can host some of these talks in-house at Community Advocates. So that's something we're looking forward to as well. We are just kind of figuring out the scheduling for that. But once we have those dates, we can share it with the Mental Health Task Force so that you guys can share in your social medias and your newsletters. And that would be a great way for us to get the word out.
Thank you very much. We'd love to share and get the word out. The next one is from Martina Gallin-Graves from Mental Health America. My Spanish is not that good, sorry, but she said, thank you, wonderful, marvelous presentation. At one time, there were videos with English subtitles for non-Spanish speakers. Is this still available? She asks.
Is that for the videos on YouTube? I believe there should be. So if
they were the first videos, they were the early ones. And so Ana Paula came on and did a presentation, and I was just curious if that's still accessible to the community.
All of our videos from the very beginning are all available on our YouTube channel. It's called Escucha tus Emociones. So sometimes if you're on the home screen, you'll only see some of them, but all of them are still available. There should be captions in both languages. And there are also some interviews that were done. For example, I know the ones that are linked to Better Ways to Cope and the Escucha tus Emociones interviews, those are actually in English. So
fantastic. I just wanted to put that on this group's radar in hopes that they know
for
that.
Sure.
Because they're fantastic videos that are really relevant to all communities. I think, I just don't want language to be a barrier for some if there's an English speaking version or, with subtitles. Thank you again.
Thanks, Martina. A question from Rebecca Rabbiton, and I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I'm glad to see you're working in conjunction with the Mexican consulate. They're open to all Spanish-speaking natives and have regularly scheduled health fairs. Oh, it's a statement, not a question. And then from Chris Rick, I love seeing this presentation as well. The kickoff was another project that the Charles E. Kubely Foundation supported. It was great to see the depth of outreach and plans for future programming. We would love to share via socials.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if there's a way, but I think I should be able to share the presentation if anyone was interested in it. If not, I will put up my contact information again.
We can add it to our website if you're able to share it with us, Cecilia.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, and my email is here in case any of you would like to reach out to me individually. Also, if you have any events or speaking engagements where you would like me to come and present about Escucha tus Emociones, I would be the person to do that. So feel free to reach out to me directly.
Nicole, did you have a question?
Yeah, as you know, I talk a lot. Nicole Damian from Independence First. I just wanted to thank both groups that came here today. I'm really excited about what you've presented. And just, you know, I do have education and background in counseling, and I'm seeing really cool things happen throughout like the 15 or 20 years of being in this mental health space. Just the growth and the amount of folks within communities that don't look like mine stepping up and using that peer approach and that peer model to expand what clinicians are doing and what they, you know, how they're approaching counseling. I think your voices and the communities you serve are so important, and I'm really thankful for you all stepping up. I know that for a lot of us, we've had challenges with mental health issues or know someone, and so sometimes that can be really challenging when our communities aren't accepting or when there's stigma around it. So I really appreciate your courage and starting those programs and speaking out. And I would love to connect you with Independence First, because we are part of that peer-led model for folks with disabilities, and we serve lots of folks in the BIPOC communities, and would love to connect with you so that we can have that reach and help you reach the folks that we serve as well. So thank you again for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
I saw one more question from Denise Johnson. Oh, it's a statement. Sorry. A great resource and information from Denise Johnson. That's not a question. Any other questions? Well, I thank you very much for presenting to us today. What a wonderful program, and what enthusiasm everyone has shown today for their programs. And we will carry this forward and support you in any way we can. Do you want to introduce yourself, Mary, or should I introduce the great Mary Neubauer next on the agenda?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mary Neubauer. I'm just going to do a little brief introduction. February is Black History Month, and we are fortunate for Black History Month. We are going to have the Kothi Dance Company with us, and Kothi Dance Company is commemorating 54 years of excellent performance and cultural preservation. Kothi is founded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the company has been a beacon of African and Caribbean dance tradition since 1969, and it brings continuity, faith, and love to audiences worldwide. And it's just an amazing dance company. And we've got a sneak preview of a snippet of a couple of minutes. And if Nicole can cue up the video, we're going to watch a couple of minutes, and then I'll speak a little bit more about what's going to happen in February. Okay, that was out of Wildfire, their 23 performance that Kothi just had. And we are fortunate that Sonia Thompson, the artistic director for Kothi, will be bringing drummers and dancers to Independence First for our February meeting in person. And Sonia will be talking about the dance company. And we're fortunate that Sonia is the artistic director for Kothi, but she also happens to be a choreographer and actor in Pieces in My Own Voice. And so she'll be talking about the connection between mental health and mental wellness and how it all ties in with Kothi. And you'll have the wonderful experience of having the experience of COFI right at a mental health task force meeting. So I really encourage people to join us in person, because I know we're going to have to open up all 3 rooms to allow the dancers and drummers to do their thing. And because there are young dancers that are involved, like school age, and we're still firming up which groups are going to be participating. So we'll have to put out on the agenda what time COFI will be actually on the agenda. So I just wanted to give you a snippet of part of the agenda for Black History.
Mary, one moment. You've been muted.
I've been muted. I'm so sorry. I get to repeat myself. So what I was saying is, Sonia Thompson is the artistic director for COFI Dance Company. She also happens to be the choreographer and actor in Pieces in My Own Voice, the production of that is directed, written, and produced by Brenda Wesley, which is on mental health. So Sonia will be talking about how mental health and mental wellness is part of COFI and how it all fits together. And will be coming to Independence First with drummers and dancers of all ages to perform for us at the February Mental Health Task Force meeting. And we'll be using all 3 spaces, and the time frame between 3 and 5 hasn't been determined because we're still finalizing the age groups of who she's bringing with her. So you'll have to watch for the agenda to come out. So it's going to be an amazing meeting on amazing representation of Black History Month, and the group representing history. And what I was saying is we still have some open time on the agenda. If somebody else has some ideas or has interest of another topic to add in for Black History Month, please let either Christine, myself, or Sally know quickly so we can get that formalized on the agenda. You know, a speaker for 20 to 30 minutes, that would be great if you know a specific topic. So that is the sampling of the COFI Dance Company right here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that has been here for the last 54 years.
Thank you very much, Mary. It was healing just to watch that. So very excited for next month. I'm transitioning. Mary Neubauer again will present some mental health board updates.
So mental health board updates. So I had announced a month ago that I was going to be transitioning off the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board, and that Christine was going to be moving into that role. And we had a board meeting at the end of December, and it was brought to my attention that there's a slight difficulty in that the way things were set up with the board, with me as vice chair and the current chair, and all of the new members on the board, and that the current chair is leaving in May, and I was planning on leaving at the end of January or end of February, that there weren't individuals that were groomed to be the chair and the vice chair. So we have one board member that has agreed to step in and consider being the chair, is considering being the chair. They were going to have a meeting with County Executive Crowley about some structural issues around how board agendas are put together and the involvement of the office of the county executive. And I'm confident they were going to be able to, iron out some issues they had. and they asked if I would be willing to stay on as co-chair. And I said I would be willing to do that because we have like 4 new members of the board that have been there for less than 3 to 8 months, and several other board members that have been there about 2 years and don't know all the policies and idiosyncrasies of the workings of the county system and some of the structure of Act 203 and the ordinances. And so based on that situation, I said I would agree to stay on for 1 more year, but I took that to Christine and said, you know, I had said I would step away so you could step in, and we had a conversation, and Christine said she would be fine with me staying on for another year for the stability of the reason for the stability of the mental health board. And with a lot of change on the steering committee for the mental health task force, we just had Sue Goddich step away. We have a few other board steering committee members that have stepped away or are stepping away, and we are going through a setting up bylaws and a strategic plan. So there's some transition going on within the steering committee itself. Thought that it would be okay for me to hang around because I was going to be leaving the steering committee in the not too distant future. And so we are going to be interviewing 2 individuals on the steering committee to look at stepping up and becoming one or both becoming additional co-chairs or tri-chairs or quad chairs on the steering committee to learn the roles and the ranks of the steering committee. And I'm gonna like step back as to my day-to-day responsibilities on the steering committee and take a backseat role in the next several months. So those are some of the transitions as to the mental health board. So that came up. Any questions or thoughts or concerns? Any comments from anybody out in the audience? I mean, that's a pretty big deal. No. You guys trust me that much?
Hi, Mary. My name is Sharice. I'm from
Hi.
Lutheran Social Services. I had a question about the person that's going to be going into the steering committee. What are the qualifications that you are asking for to be on this committee?
Well, no, this isn't to be on the steering committee. These are people that are already on the steering committee that are being considered to be tri or quad chairs of the steering committee.
Okay.
We're
Thank
not adding people to the steering committee right now. We had an overabundance of people on the steering committee. We had like 18 people or 19 people on the steering committee that was set to be at like 12 or 13. But generally, there is a criteria to be on the steering committee, is to be a member of the mental health task force. Sally can provide you with that information if you'd like to have that.
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Okay, great. If you could connect up with Sally, our coordinator,
Okay.
that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're always looking for good candidates. Anybody else? So as far as the mental health board itself goes, some things that are brewing. The mental health board itself is reviewing the contract for Granite Hills because things with Granite Hills are not going well. As far as, the day-to-day operations, we don't really know how well things are going, I guess. We're kind of in the dark, but we have a new attorney, Richard Cantor, is in the role of the attorney on the mental health board. And so the mental health board a month ago was sent the contract for Granite Hills. So I have to now go into the process of reviewing about 100 and I think it's 57-page contract for Granite Hills, and we are just going to be discussing the contract. And I'm not an attorney, and so I don't know which aspects and elements of it we're actually going to be looking at. As far as the language, I haven't been given any direction yet, but there's questions because of the amount of beds, that they're supposed to have is 120, and I believe they're up to 36 or 40, which is nowhere close to 120 beds. And so that's one of the issues. Another issue is the information that I got basically off the streets from some of the police officers is around the mental health emergency center not operating the way it's intended to be. The information I received is that the police officers are building up cars in the circle driveway as they did in the old psychiatric services area, crisis area, and that clinicians are coming out and staffing people in squad cars, and that is not what is supposed to be happening. So now that the holidays are over, I'm going to try and get in touch with some fellow board members to go and do a sit-in out in the circle driveway and or in the psychiatric or in the mental health emergency center for several hours during the day and evening shifts to actually see what's going on there, because that's the only way we're going to really find out. You can't believe what's going on based on what they tell us in a report. We're going to have to see what's going on by our own eyes. So that's another piece of information. Is the mental health emergency center.
Miss Mary?
Yes.
Yes, this is Brenda.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask you as far as the board is concerned, the mental health board, because I know there was a lot of heavy lifting. And is there any advocacy that's going to be happening with the task force in regards to keeping a tab on what's happening with Granite Hills and the emergency center? I'm the one that said that I contacted some police officers and I'll disclose that information to you, that they're doing business as usual. And a lot of the doctors are dropping the Chapter 51 when police officers bring people into the emergency center from the squad cars as well. So what is it that can be done in order to, I don't know, ramp up advocacy? And I think that's probably why the community engagement committee or the advisory council was established to be able to be on top of all of these issues. So
right, the community engagement committee has not met since I got the information from you, nor has the steering committee, because I just got that information. So this next steering committee meeting for the task force isn't until February, the first Tuesday in February. So what I'm trying to do is line up a board member or two to go do a sit-in, as I stated, to gather some information and then bring it to the task force.
right, and also the young lady, and I'm sorry that I missed your name, from Community Advocates, is that advocates to make sure that there are people that are speaking the same language, the Latino community, to have interpreters within these systems as well. And is that happening even with the emergency center as well as the Granite Hospital? as well as other organizations.
Cecilia?
Yeah, I would say that like that's something, an area for improvement. At our offices, there is usually a Spanish speaker in-house or interpreters available, but I can't speak for some of our community partners, which we refer to.
Okay.
And it's also something, you know, we're not just talking about offering services to Spanish speaking community. We have members of the Hmong or people within the refugee community and the need for Rohingya speakers. So those are all things that we're aware of, but we're not able to offer at this moment.
And Mary, I'm monitoring the chat. Question from Denise Johnson. Isn't Granite Hills under DHS? What about asking DHS for their support?
What do you mean under DHS, Denise? Denise, could you expand? What do you mean under DHS?
Correct. I thought that Granite Hills was under DHS's supervision, so it's under the auspices of DHS. Is that correct?
Department of Health Services, you mean at the state level?
Correct. That's what I mean.
Well, they're under the state level as far as for corrective actions and things of that nature.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that would be the case.
Oh, I see Barbara's comment. Thank you. Barbara answered it for me. She said it was a private hospital. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah. So our contract with them, Denise, is for payment for voluntary, involuntary Milwaukee County residents that are involuntary or uninsured.
Okay.
And that's the part of the contract, I believe, that Richard Cantor is talking about, is what does that really mean, and those aspects and elements of it.
Terri, may I chime in? Hello, this is Brenda.
Hello?
May I chime in?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, right. I think maybe just kind of making it clear that Granite Hills is private. It was, of course, the mental health complex was dissolved up under Milwaukee County, but however, there was a contract that was initiated for X amount of beds that would be provided to the county, correct? And there's a contract that they have to adhere by. But again, the advocacy to make sure that they are adhering by this contract, and as well as the psychiatric emergency center, is that is funded in part by county, but also funded under, now tell me if I'm, because I've been off the board for a minute. So Department of Health and Human Services are running, no, Aurora is running the day-to-day activities of the emergency center, correct? So I think it's just kind of carving out the differences here.
Right. Mental health emergency is a private organization funded by 50% by the Milwaukee County, and then the remaining portion, equal portions by Freighter, Aurora, Ascension, and Children's. And correct, Aurora runs the day-to-day operations. So correct. Okay.
this is a comment. This is Christine Apple talking. I really appreciate you having a role as a representative of the Mental Health Task Force, Mary, because just our conversation just now, I think points to a really confusing picture as to if you have concerns about the facility, where to go to voice those concerns, given that there's multiple agencies involved and it's overseen by the Joint Commission. I don't know if we have an advocacy role with that Joint Commission.
With what Joint Commission?
One of the comments in the chat, this is Barbara. The state has some oversight authority, but it's limited due to the Joint Commission role, as it's overseen by the Joint Commission on for accreditation for healthcare, I'm assuming.
Oh, Joint Commission, yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's very tricky because they have that independent board. And now it's going to be interesting because things will change, because right now Mike Lappin and John Schneider are the board members on the board for MHAC. And I believe those two are on the board for MHAC. And I don't believe, or I don't even remember if Maria Perez is even on the board any longer. She may still be, but I would like to see the next chair of the mental health board have a much more active role on that board. So so I have a governance meeting on the 10th, which is tomorrow. So I'll have some more information and some more news for February. So there's more coming out of that meeting with governance. Because there's issues being taken up around attendance of board members to the board, because we have one board member that I believe has attended 1 or 2 out of 12 board meetings. And so the only person that can remove that board member from the board is either the county executive or the county board. The chair of the mental health board can't even remove somebody. Only the person that appointed the person to the board can remove somebody from the board, which makes no sense for unexcused absences. So that's going to be discussed in the governance meeting tomorrow. That's on the agenda.
Mary, this is Brenda again. I guess it's my first meeting. I have a lot to say, huh?
Yes, Brenda.
Question, at this point in time, since there's not a lot of advocacy going on, is there a way that the task force can create an advocacy component with just a few members that's able to get information to bring back to the task force, but maybe a different, like a advocacy component of the task force? Would that make sense?
So like an advocacy committee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we're talking right now in our strategic planning of that there would ultimately be committees that would be built, and an advocacy committee could potentially be one of them.
It's a thought, because then you have just a few people that's able to get this information. And so it's just kind of disturbing to hear there are things that are still happening, right? And
Yes.
And to really be in tune to it and bring it back to the steering committee. So that would be great. The strategic plan.
It'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that? from any steering committee members? Or anybody?
Martina wrote in the chat, I think that was Make It Work Milwaukee back in the day. Thank you, Martina.
This is Nicole, part of the steering committee. Just to comment on that, in December, we did gather a lot of information from folks that attended the meeting to see what we're doing well and what we would like to see more of in our meetings. And I think advocacy was a big piece of that. We do have a steering committee member who is tabulating that information from the meeting in December. And one of the things, just as myself and being part of the steering committee, I would definitely like to see that advocacy piece brought into the meeting. So it's definitely on our radar. It's something that we've been discussing, and as we get some new ideas and some of that strategic planning in place, we hopefully will have that be part of what we are doing in the meetings. Even if it's just, here's what's going on, here's what you can do about it, a quick blurb or quick something that you can take with you and do. So
this is Martina. I'm really confused. Maybe do we just have a lot of new people? Because that's been a big part of the mental health task force. So I do hear that there's some conversation about compartmentalizing and having maybe a subcommittee to do some of that work. But I just want to elevate that that's always been a part of the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force. And so maybe I'm just misunderstanding how people want it formatted or included, or maybe done differently. Somebody help me out here.
Martina, and it's Make It Work Milwaukee, but that was, of course it was advocacy, but it was like other components with it. When I talk about the advocacy piece, I'm talking about even just the one piece within the system to identify what the challenges are. Because I think with Milwaukee, that Barbara Beckert oversaw, it was a lot of political things as well, right? And forms and things of that nature. Is that correct?
I see. So
yes,
not talking about like the politics of the county or the
yes.
city, but more, so very issue-based.
Yes.
Again, I mean, I know what you're saying, Brenda, and I don't want to take up time here, but okay, well, to be continued. I would be very interested how that rolls out.
Just drill it down a little bit.
We have time, so talk about it. We
Yeah.
have time here for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have time on the agenda today.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Martina, just to drill it down a little, because I know that Barbara, she was magnificent with overseeing a lot. And I'm just saying, just maybe if we could just drill it down just a little bit with the advocacy piece to address like the day-to-day operations of systems, right? So that was my intent.
I see. Okay, that's helpful.
Martina, we lost Barbara, and there's DRW, there is a policy person that has like 5 hours a month to give us, but Christine and myself and Sally and Kit from DRW and Lisa from DRW met last month or this month. I don't know which month, this month, last month, they're all the same. But we basically, meaning the mental health task force, need to be much more independent than we were in the past, as far as achieving and doing what we need to do. We don't have the services, and we don't have the knowledge and the expertise and the time of what Barbara provided for us. So we need to do it on our own, is basically what we have to do.
Sorry, I get it now. The way I must have misunderstood, I think the conversation had a tone of people inquiring why we aren't doing it or what can we be doing. and I just misinterpreted. I hear you're looking for a direction moving forward in the wake of Barbara transitioning out. Brenda is making suggestions about how we might be able to drill that down and do it a little bit differently. I'm with you all now.
And just to make a
Martina.
joining, if I could make a joining statement for the whole mental health task force, we can't do it alone is Mary's message, and things are changing. So Mary, we're lucky to have her as our conduit from the mental health task force to the board directly. And the board really has a great role and voice in making and holding people accountable and our systems accountable, but there has to be more. The mental health task force has historically always had a position paper that we presented to the board with our concerns and our advocacy concerns at the public comment hearing meetings at the board. What I'm hearing you say is you want more than that, some value added advocacy, and if we could have a subgroup of not just a position paper or Mary, but also some of our members of the mental health task force who want to join forces as an ad hoc committee, I think that's wonderful. It's a great idea.
Thanks, Christine.
The other thing I want to mention regarding the mental health board, and I want to mention because I'm a member of MC3 and I end up representing the mental health task force and the mental health board on MC3. And I'm not going to go into what MC3 is today because it's too long. But Martina, Maria Perez will be going off the board May 1st, off the mental health board. And she represents psychiatry or psychology adult. So there is going to be a position open on the board for psychiatry or adult psychologist. So if there is somebody that's a member of the mental health task force, that is a position that is going to be open. So now would be the time to get your resume together and submit it because that goes to the county executive. So if you're out in the audience, hello audience, or you know somebody that is a psychiatrist or psychologist representing the adult population that would be like to be on the mental health board, their application would go to the county executive, and now would be the time to do it. So that's the other thing to be on top of.
So quick question then. So I second Christine's comment. I think an ad hoc committee is a great idea. I finally have wrapped my head around this, guys. What are the next steps in just deciding what'll happen in general? Is this in the hands of strategic planning and then you guys will come back to us? Like what will this look like? How do we have input?
Well, there's a couple of things. I had come to you in the past. We had talked about looking for people to potentially do strategic planning with the mental health task force. We are, based on the meeting that we had with DRW, we are needing to do our strategic planning like in the first quarter. Like we need to do it ASAP. And so with this doing ASAP, we have no MONEY. So we need to come up with MONEY really quick. So we're looking at grant options really quick and funding and everything else. I mean, this meeting that we had with DRW really has put a fire under our butts without us knowing we were going to be set on fire. I mean, we knew we needed to do our strategic plan quickly, but we didn't know we were going to have to try and accomplish it in the first quarter of the year. So, so we're working on the bylaws right now. But as far as strategic planning, we thought we had a little bit more time. But we're into mid-January and we need to do it like tomorrow. So. And then that's going to produce the direction for committees or ad hoc committees or that whole process, Martina. I mean, we have some good ideas as far as ad hoc committees or ad hoc committees. We gathered information from the task force last month, and we've had some discussions within the steering committee, but now it all needs to be synthesized, and we need somebody that can actually do the strategic planning. So
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Mary, this is Nicole. I just want to be mindful of the interpreter's time. It's 5:02, so they are not able to say much past our time. So I just want to be recognize that.
Denise says thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Mary, for all your wonderful information from the board. Stay safe and, time to shovel for me.
See you in February. Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah. Thank you, Brenda and Terri.
Good night, all.
Good night. Oh, bye.